Hi and welcome back to Real Opinions. Before I get into the proper review, I just wanted to say that there is an interview with the director and the producer of Mary and the Witch's Flower up on our website. That will be linked in the description. There's only a few questions just because we had limited time and there was translation between back and forth. But yeah, give it a read if you're interested in more. Mary and the Witch's Flower is the first film by Studio Ponoc. Ponoc meaning midnight or a brand new day, because a majority are staff that have left Studio Ghibli to start their own company. Yonebayashi, the director, he originally did When Marnie Was There and The Secret Life of Harriet, and basically when Studio Ghibli started shutting down after its masters were no longer producing feature films and they didn't want to make feature films anymore, its younger staff basically thought, well, we still want to do stuff, we'd like to have jobs, and so they have, set off on their own ways. There is a quote from the original book that they cited a lot in a lot of the interview materials, and it is one line, which is that Mary says at one point, I want to open this door, but I want to open it without using magic, no matter how long that takes. And that is kind of how they've cited their mindset of going into this film, because they wanted a character that liked magic, but then realised at the end of it that they no longer needed magic to be who they were, and that they thought it was much more fulfilling to go on without the magic, and that is the kind of the context that they've seen for moving on from the magic of Studio Ghibli. However, I understand that concept. However, I think that they don't push far enough with this film to be completely separate from the past, as well as I think there's something with that statement where you say, we don't want magic. That's what people like about Studio Ghibli. They like that it's got this magical element to it, this fantasy, this wonder, and saying, we want to leave the magic of Studio Ghibli behind. I know that they're saying, basically, highlighting its reputation more so than the actual style of the films, because this is very much a continuation of that, but it's a touchstone that I think highlights a few of the flaws going into the final product. Mary and the Witch's Flower is based on the English novel The Little Broomstick. Mary has moved to live with her elderly aunt in the countryside, and it's summer, so she's just waiting to go back to school again, or to start school in this new area, and so she's left in the house with just elderly people and nothing to really do, and so she's very bored, and she slowly starts exploring the nearby countryside, and while doing that she follows some cats and she finds the witch's flower and a broomstick, and by crushing one of the flowers berries, she gains magical powers for those 24 hours, and the broom sets off and takes her away to Endor. Like the Ewoks. Which actually I realised when looking up means like forest or in something in Germanic, and she's taken to Endor College where she finds a magical headmistress, and plot happens, as it tends to do sometimes. Yeah, I mean, as films go, it's not particularly flawed in any particular way. It's just missing that magic that they wanted to kind of step away from. Mary just kind of feels like a compilation of all the kind of stubborn Ghibli girls rolled into one, but with nothing in particular defining her. It's also a very similar plot of being whisked away to a magical building run by a kind of creepy, crony old woman who uses magic to control the girl at several times, and it ultimately wraps into a story of technology versus nature. So to say this is a film that is entirely branching out from what's happened before would be, I think it's just a lie, and to say, as they have said in all the promotional materials, that they didn't deliberately go out to try and make a film that would be popular and make money. They wanted to make something that they wanted to make. And again, I think, is that really true? Because granted, the director has also, the previous two books that he's done are adapted, into films, are English fantasy novels by female writers around the same era. So that's definitely in his MO, but the past two films were definitely smaller in scale and a lot more focused on human drama and emotions, whereas this is much larger scale and honestly just seems to skim over a lot of the human element of the film. As you could probably see in the trailer that I showed, obviously the animation is just top-notch all the way through. It is, I think they've put a majority of the kind of flourishes in the trailer, so you've probably already seen it on this video, but there are some really amazingly animated sections. I don't know why I've left off this review for so long, because I saw it a while ago, and when I think back to it, I just think that there wasn't that much to remember about it. Like I said, the characters were all kind of cut out. The plot was, I would not venture to say, predictable, but it wasn't particularly imaginative, and the moments where the film was being imaginative, it seemed to really brush over to get back to a plot that I wasn't that interested in. In all of the interviews, again, they have mentioned how passionate they were about this project, and I've watched the behind-the-scenes documentary on the amount of work that they did put into it and the amount of late nights, but watching the final film, you don't feel that. In the final film, you don't feel the passion. You don't feel like this is a story that he really wants to tell. It feels like the story that the studio wants to tell to get a really good first start. And I can understand that, because starting a studio, especially a high-quality animation feature film studio, is it's a very, very risky move. It just is. And I'm not saying that they don't love animation, obviously. It's that they love animation, that's why they are wanting to make this. But they need to set a good foundation for that company. And I completely understand that. But I just think that it means that whatever Ponoc come out with next, potentially, or maybe the film after that, if they are continue to be successful, I just think that this will be looked back on as the safe foundation from which they try to build something new. I can't hate the film for that, but it doesn't mean I have to love it or particularly like it. I don't think there was much to watch back on. I think that if you maybe have a kid, they might enjoy it, just a kid that loves fantasy in particular. But for adults, adults can rewatch a lot of the classic Ghibli films and still feel that wonder of it and the fun. Personally, I just don't think there was enough of that here to really get me excited about it. Thank you very much for listening. We have stuff going up on the website still, and stuff on our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Great.